The French family is made up of three, Kent, Michelle, and Everly, and has decided the time is now. We have left fast-paced careers in broadcasting and entertainment, decided to world school our 8-year-old daughter, and packed up our lives to travel the world in an effort to live life to the fullest.
Come with us on our podcast as we chronicle our journey around the globe, bringing you stories of Frenchitivity, which includes the three pillars of possibility, creativity, and tranquility, and ultimately learn what drives others to live life without a net.
Today on the Frenchitivity Podcast, we discuss us. We give you a peek behind the curtain and have an honest conversation about how we ultimately decided to press pause on our busy lives and travel the world for 10 months.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Frenchitivity Podcast on your preferred platform and visit Frenchitivity.com to subscribe to our newsletter.
You can also help others find our podcast with a follow or a comment and spread the word. We hope this conversation inspires you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Frenchitivity Podcast. Kent and Michelle back with you, and this is a time of reflection. Yes, we're back. We're back at our house in Southern California, and we often look at ourselves and wonder, how in the world did we travel the world? How did we make this dream possible? How did we do it? And why aren't we still on the road? Why aren't we still out there with the amazing people and places that we encountered? So we thought we'd come on and just talk through it with you and with us, because we certainly maybe a little therapy for us
probably.
to kind of go through the process of how we were able to do what we did.
Yeah, it probably ends up a little bit like that.
Yeah.
This is a little more raw, different for us because we're usually interviewing other people from the onset of our journey. That was the goal throughout the journey and upon return on the podcast. So we're really used to asking other people questions and kind of shining a light on them. So this is a little bit different for us to maybe peel back some of the layers and it helps us digest it too. And maybe it'll mean something to somebody else who's thinking about taking a journey or just wants to celebrate with us that the world is beautiful.
Yeah. And, we start with the motivation, and the motivation's easy, right? You want a more fulfilled life. You want to do something outside the box. You want to get a little bit uncomfortable. You want to bring some more happiness and joy and experiences to your family. But having motivation is one thing, doing it is another.
Yeah. And I want, you said that in so many ways. I want to ask you a question about that too, because,
You're not interviewing me.
I just wonder, if we can articulate how it felt, how we knew we wanted to do something different. It's one thing to say something, oh, we wanted to do something different and for this, but like for you, what did it look and feel like to say, I've accomplished a lot and yet there's something more?
Well, it's true. And it's a tough question because you and I went around and around about this topic.
For a long time. For a really long time.
Well, and truth be told, I was the one saying, what about next year?
Yeah.
What about next year? I was not mentally there with my job, with my career. We've worked so hard to get to where we got.
Yeah.
I wasn't in a position that I was ready to literally walk away. And that was difficult for me to grasp and to kind of really to take in and digest.
Well, because that's a bit of a daunting way to think about it too, which is reality, very much so. And also like what's on the other side of that. But yeah, I mean, when you accomplished and worked really hard for something, but truth be told, this idea, like you said, had been there in different forms and ways since our honeymoon. Like we've been talking about this. And it wasn't something we visited every year, like, oh, when are we going to do that? How are we going to make that happen? But this desire to travel, to see the world, to live somewhere else had been there for a long time, actually.
Well, and we didn't know what that looked like. Conceptually, it was there. Motivationally, it was there.
Yeah.
We did not necessarily know what it looked like.
Yeah. And so then what happened?
So
then we went on a hike.
Then there
was this day.
So Michelle had owned her own business for, I don't know, over a decade. And it came to an end shortly after COVID. And in the event space, I was in the broadcasting space as a television broadcaster. And my world was looking a lot differently during the hike, during our conversation. The landscape of broadcasting is completely changing.
Yeah.
It changed drastically before I left, while I left, and still continues to
Continue.
change as we are back. Still trying to figure out what's going on
I always say it's like
with it.
fascinating if you're not in the middle of it. Even then it's still kind of fascinating,
Right.
but it's a lot. So yeah, your industry was rapidly changing, and we had always been trying to see
It
around the corner
was.
of that.
It was, and I think when we say fulfilled, we use the word fulfillment, and it's twofold. One is with the family, being fulfilled with your family, and as a husband and as a father. Number two is being fulfilled in my career and working so hard to be in broadcasting and broadcast
Yeah.
television. I got to a point working for a baseball team and a hockey team. Um, one of 30 jobs, one of 32 jobs. It's like, yeah, it was I was very fortunate to be where I was, but you get to a point too where then you reach a certain level where you're unable to give more. There's more to give, and there was more for me to give, more for me than there was the ability and the space to give it in.
Yeah.
Um, and I had heard the term uncomfortable for a long, long time. And I didn't know what that was necessarily, other than I started exploring it and listening to it and saying, I need to get uncomfortable in my career so I can be better, so I can grow, so I can do more, learn more, be a better broadcaster, be a better interviewer. But also need to get uncomfortable in my personal life, be a better husband and a better father. So um, this was all happening when we go on this hike that Michelle referenced. And she had brought it up. Yes, in our honeymoon, we've kind of, kicked around the idea, wouldn't it be fun to do this?
But like who doesn't think like, "Oh, wouldn't that be
Right.
fun?" Yes, of
So
course.
then she's like,
Like how does that become
so
reality?
what do you think about taking a year and traveling the world? And I said, yeah, maybe next year. Sounds great. And that's serious. And but the more that she started talking about it, she's like, I'm gonna get back in the workspace then if we don't do this now. Everly's at an age, she was finishing up first grade, and we were kind of wondering what that would look like. And maybe it was the right time to do it for her. So, it was kind of a perfect, the more we thought about it, the more I digested this crazy idea, it became this perfect,
Imperfect. Perfect
imperfect
imperfect
storm.
storm. Yeah. And I think from my perspective, it was that, like you said, I had run my business and we had made a family decision to tie a bow around that. We made a huge impact and we're really proud of all that work. And it was time to look towards something else and being more available while you were still traveling a lot and Everly was getting into school. And then it came to that place for me of like, what like we both were what is happiness, fulfillment, contentment, and how do those play together? And when you come to this point where you're like, I want more time with my family, I want more time to really be who I am, maybe not playing all these roles I need to play, which are important roles, but also like living my life and living. And yeah, it was time to do something different. And so why not do something really different while we also decided how it meant to be different in our family, different in our relationship, different as parents, different as spouses, different in the world. Just that happiness is in this moment, that time moves quickly, and that if we didn't take this risk, if we didn't do this, I was at the point where I was always going to wonder and I was going to take that next step, not knowing if I could back up what I said about how I wanted to work differently and show up in the world differently. Like
Right.
I needed this experience to back up what I was saying that I was going to begin to do in my life.
Well, and we've all heard the term Groundhog's Day, right? And that was that's kind of how my career was progressing. It was the same thing every single year, every single working the wintertime, the hockey season, and move transitioning to baseball season. And then, as you mentioned, travel. I was gone now at times 150 days a year, and it's a long time to be away. Um, yes, there is some excitement and thrill to it, and romanticism, if you will. But then after a while, I mean, when you bring a child into it, and also you're trying to, have a relationship and build a family, then it becomes very daunting to an extent. So
I have a hockey term. We almost needed a breakaway. We needed a breakaway to have a breakthrough
breakaway. Well, and
to be in a just come
Yes.
back better.
And you say, so then it was the Groundhog's Day, but also then we use the term and the analogy hamster wheel. It's the same type of situation where you jump on this wheel and you just keep going. And as we know, time moves so fast.
Yeah.
You blink and it's gone. You blink and it's another year. You blink and she's a year older. We had to step off that wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in certain scenarios and times, there's nothing wrong with that wheel. Like we live in a society where that wheel can achieve certain things. It just takes a lot of, a lot of bravery, but also just a lot of introspective thought process to be like, well, wait, what if I stepped off that wheel? And sometimes we don't want to do it because it's like, if I step off of it, where will I ever be and what will happen and who am I? But like we were willing to ask those questions because the wheel at that point felt too familiar that then wasn't what we know we're meant to be and do. It just wasn't who we are.
Well, and what it comes down to for me personally, if you're going to bet on something, bet on yourself. And I am very confident in what I
Yes.
do and what I
Yes.
can do and what I will do. And then obviously equally as confident in what we are going to do as a family
Yeah.
and as a
Yeah,
couple. So
definitely pro tip, like be in relationship with someone who believes in you
yeah.
as much or more than you believe in yourself. Like you see your person having success and doing well and also not knowing like how to keep sustaining that there is a next level, and like you need to be with the person who's willing to say like, I know there's another level for you. Like I believe in you. I agree with you. Let's go figure
Yeah,
out
and I
what it
think there's a little
is.
bit of shock factor too when we told our close family and friends and colleagues that this is what we were going to do because again,
Like, why?
we
Everything
were
is
living a good
great.
life. We are very
An
fortunate
amazing
in a
life.
nice house and a nice school for our daughter and neighbors and
Beautiful
a beautiful
community.
area. People
Yeah.
vacation here and
hmm
we live in this
We had it
area.
all.
But it wasn't there is still for many, there is more. There is more out there.
Well, and I do think that's where to be very real and to operate in like a scenario where like you are fine and things are good. And so why would you rock the boat and why would you risk that? Why would you do that? But like, if you know, you know. Like if you're listening, you know. If you know what we're saying,
Yeah.
that everything can be great on paper, for to use that term, or and really it is, and it's fine. But this is also your one beautiful life, and fine and okay and whatever other words we want to use is just not enough.
Well, and to just to even peel the curtain back a little bit more, as I get older, for me, then like mortality creeps in a little bit, and knowing that I want to be healthy to be able to go on these journeys. I don't want to wait until I'm quote unquote retired. I told Michelle I'm never going to retire because I really enjoy what I
Yeah,
do.
enjoy it too. Yeah.
So, but that is another side of it is I want to be able to run with my daughter and hike with my daughter and hike with you and run on the beach and go swimming and do all these different things. And we, in one of our podcasts, one of the people we interviewed said, "If not now, when?" And that is true because you can always make excuses. You can always have self-induced speed bumps, roadblocks, however you want to phrase it. But and then we were guilty of that too. Like, no, not no. We have this. I wait a second. I want to do this. I want to do. It just wasn't. I was putting those up there. So we decided to put the chips in the middle of the table and bet on ourselves. Still are. I would do it again tomorrow. Um, very challenging. I mean, this wasn't a vacation. This is a family journey, really. And
So what did we do? What did we do? So
well,
we
the goals were to establish a family brand, and we called it Frenchitivity.
Yeah.
Positivity, creativity, tranquility. Those are all the things that we represent. We thought those pillars were really a good foundational words for what we wanted to do. And then with our experience, we wanted not just to go out there and film footage for like a for like to look back as a vacation video. We wanted to document our travels, but we wanted to interview people and in cultures and talk about what makes their area special, what makes their job special, and that was a huge goal for
Yeah.
us.
I mean, something we've always done in our work in one way or another, but not in this way where we decided we want to travel the world and take this perspective, other places to learn and grow and get curious and interview people in these places that we went. So we decided to go on a global journey and travel the world and tell the stories of the people and places that we met.
Yeah, I don't even know how many we did. I want to say we did
Oh,
upwards of
interviews?
upwards of
Oh, I don't know.
30 maybe. I
I
don't
don't even
know.
know. I don't know.
It was fascinating. And I will tell you this. Our first stop was Portugal. I am not one to admit to anxiety, but I was strapped with camera and microphones, and we thought we had business cards made, and we were going up to people
Yeah.
and doing it the way that, I thought was the right way
Yes.
to introduce ourselves, DM us. We'd love to tell your story.
We've learned a lot about the process of
It
doing
changed
this
drastically
internationally.
because after about 2 weeks in Portugal, I didn't have anything, and I certainly was, um, putting a lot of pressure on myself to change that, and so we started to be a little more aggressive in a very nice way. We'd go up to people and with mic in hand say, "We'd like to get a couple words from you," and let me tell you, we thank everybody after our interview for trusting us, but that's what it is.
Mhm,
I mean, think about
mhm.
this. You have this family from the US coming into their country, putting a mic on you, interviewing you,
I don't know
and
where that's gonna
trusting you
go.
that they're gonna put you in the best position to look good, sound good, and
Yeah,
tell your story.
yeah.
And that's what we came across.
They trusted they trusted us, which goes into a layer of discovery of what it is to just be a kind human and to approach things with curiosity and kindness and the way people are drawn to you, drawn to us as a travel family, willing to share their story, willing to connect with us. It's very obvious in our videos. It's very obvious in what we were able to share about other places.
And created friends that we still keep in touch with via direct message, via email, which has been fantastic. And two, this goes all the way to our podcast as well. I mean, we are direct messaging people to be on our podcast, and there is a trust there that we want to tell their story. We
Yeah.
want to ask the why and the how of why did they take this leap of faith to travel the world, either by themselves or with family, and they have been kind to trust us with their stories.
And
So
the podcast is a wonderful place to highlight and try to, I would say it's like an experiment. It's like a psychological experiment a little bit to see like what is the through thread of the people who are willing to do this and mostly travel oriented, but also sometimes just people are willing to take the risk to make their dream come true. I mean, that's what the entire point of the journey was. Like, what does it take to make your dream come true?
so how do you make your dream come true? Because to stay
Do you
away.
mean there's some logistical sides to this?
There might be.
You don't just like leave?
I like turning things over to the CFO
Yeah.
of the fam
Yeah.
who,
That's terrifying if I'm the CFO. If anyone
thank
who knows
God.
me
If
knows
anyone
my
who knows me
financial
knows that I
acumen.
shouldn't be the CFO, she should be
Right.
the
You're a
CFO.
very generous person, which is incredibly wonderful. So,
But the budgeting of something like
yeah.
this, um, can be an undertaking, was an undertaking, and that is something that, people ask all the time, how much was the how how did you do it financially? Um, and it was done with a lot of intent
Yeah.
and a lot of thought,
Yeah.
obviously.
Absolutely. I mean, there's aspects of it as well that we can touch on that, that you think you make the decision and you're going to go, and now let's figure out the financials. And like anyone who spends any time on their financials and their budget, well, knows you have to be in the right mental space and the right, like, so it took a lot of work for me to get right with what my financial beliefs were and how we treated our finances and how we honor our money and how we choose to spend our money. And like it took a lot of inner work to get to the budget and the numbers. So we don't take any of that lightly because it took a lot to get to that place, which is very cool because now we understand so much more about these levers that you can pull and work with within your life. And when you understand that, it's very cool what you can create. So with the budget, we really spent some time like, what do we already spend money on? What are our expenses anyway? And how do we then take that pool of money and use that to travel with? And what assets do we have that we can leverage? So clearly one of the most amazing assets you can leverage is your home, and choosing, would you like to rent your home or Airbnb your home? And so we went through all those exercises of what would be right for our family. But we're so fortunate to have something that we could leverage in that way. So if you can take an asset and make that work for you, then take what you're already spending and just allocate that differently, extend it over an amount of time. This isn't necessarily as as maybe people at first blush, because you aren't spending the money twice. You're not spending the money in two places. You are where that kind of investment is.
Well, you have to get in the right mindset too, because you're actually living. You're not going on a vacation. You are actually
Right.
going to be living for the next year. And so what are your assets? What's your monthly nut, so to speak, and how could you incorporate that into to
Hmm.
what you're doing?
Hmm.
Because you are truthfully going to go live abroad in other countries for a year.
Yeah.
So, and that's why this is not a glamorous vacation. We were living, we were budgeting, we were finding Airbnbs, finding the best deals, the flights, I mean, it was a constant um what do you call it? Decision fatigue
Oh,
for
that's, yeah. Yeah.
so many different ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Decision fatigue played a huge part
That
in
was a
this
new thing we didn't really
process.
know. But I have a little bit of chills as you speaking about this, because when you are doing well in your career and in your life, I mean, depending on what kind of personality you are, you may never really look at this at the level that it requires to examine, to take certain kinds of leaps. What I would say about like our financial conversation now is like so elevated compared to what we even needed to talk about before. Like it was just so different. And then when you say, okay, wait, I'm going to take this, leverage it, invest it in us in this way, you have to become just so fluid in the language
Mhm.
of finance and decisions. And budget is like, no one likes to talk about that word. It's like not a great word. So we came up with other ways to talk about it. But the way that you're going to navigate the financial side really becomes actually kind of cool at this point, because we can talk about it in such a healthy, different way than what we did or needed to before.
Well, and a word that'll come up a little bit later on is minimalist, and I think that applied to us from a budget perspective too. It's like, what do
We
we really
need,
need to spend money on? And obviously, the priority for our trip was experiences, and that was, at the crux of what we wanted to do. And we wanted, Everly says for my birthday, I want to pet elephants. Well, you know what?
let's do that.
We're gonna make that happen.
Do you know what else?
What?
Also live in a treehouse while you do that.
How about
Can you
that?
make that happen?
And
Yes.
she didn't even ask for
Yes, you can.
monkeys, but we got
No
monkeys.
monkeys. For another story, then that also led to we were just so fortunate of how many things worked out so well. I mean, we were well researched, and we did this very, very well in a lot of ways. But that was one of the only times we did encounter some imperfection
Yes.
and had a misbooking. So it's the first time we had fraud. It's the only time that we had fraud on our trip. So then we have a lot of learnings from that. But like for the most part,
Well, and two, a couple of things we want to get into obviously here, but we booked as we went too. And that also was part of that decision fatigue process we mentioned. We didn't have anything. We booked one hotel in Japan to make sure we were there for cherry blossoms, and that was it. Everything else was done on the fly.
yes. Yes, and personal growth in that is that like I am a planner. My event company, I am a planner around everything. Like there are checklists and spreadsheets, and so that was
And I'm
kind of
not really.
my ultimate edge, my ultimate learning curve of like, we're going to do this as we go so that we can respond to where we want to go next, how we're doing as a family, what we want to explore, what we want to see. And like, that is so unlike me in every possible way. And it was so freeing and amazing. And aside from the decision fatigue, which really is a real thing, which is very challenging. Aside from that, actually having this level of freedom and flexibility and adventure was, I mean, I'm a new person in a lot of ways,
Yeah, I
but
mean, how about getting
that was
uncomfortable? She got uncomfortable. That was huge.
sit in the discomfort
sit in the discomfort,
a
live in
lot,
the discomfort
all the time, constantly.
all the time.
There would be days that I'm like, I don't know where my baby, my child is going to rest her head to sleep in 2 days' time. I don't know. And also, it's going to be fine. There will be a place and it will be okay.
Yes,
Who's that? I don't know that person.
it all worked out.
It all worked out.
And it all worked out too when it comes to education, because a lot of people, that topic is brought up a lot, and
Yeah,
as it should be. It was brought up by us a lot before we left. It's like,
of
so
course.
how are we going to do this with our then 7-year-old who turned 8 on the trip,
Mhm.
um, and get her through second grade in a manner that would put her in a wonderful position to be ready for third grade. We were
Well,
very
since we're teachers, no.
we were very
We,
fortunate to work with a school that was very supportive of what we were doing. And two, this added to the decision about the time was right
yeah.
to go. Like, talk about that perfect storm, that imperfect storm was, you know what, that second grade year has a tendency to be kind of a repeat of first. If you're gonna do it, that would be the time to do it. And we're like, oh God, really?
Well,
Okay.
this to be said though, too, once we were traveling, there are so many ways to educate. And we are very fortunate that we were in alignment with a school and education system that believed in this experiential learning as we do. And it all worked out so well. But there are so many ways to educate. And there are so many programs. We researched a lot. Even going in to talk to our school, we wanted to be really prepared to make sure that they understood that we were taking that part very seriously. And here were many options and help them partner with us and guide us in what would be the best way.
Yeah.
And we came up with the perfect solution for us. But what we have come to for sure find out is that there are so many solutions, and it really there's a few things you can walk yourself and your family through to really identify what would be the best way for you. Like, you don't have to be the teacher, thank goodness, because we're not. We guided a lot, but we found ways to educate our daughter. And then we saw so many people doing it in so many cool ways that what might be the number one thing that gave us anxiety in the beginning ended up probably being the thing that every day I see evidence of how good and perfect and wonderful it was for her education.
We were
Every day.
we were able to check in with somebody a couple times a month, who is giving some help. One of Ev's former teachers, was able to step in and help us out a little bit as well, and so that was comforting. But yeah, I mean, what we're excited about when it comes to education is how she's going to unpack this for the next 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, I don't
A
think,
lifetime.
I don't know, I don't
A
think all of
lifetime.
us realize exactly what we just did and what we
No.
learned. But a teaser for later, we actually got to do something for her school, so that's just stay tuned for that. But then I kind of want to dovetail on this because it makes me think of community and world schooling and the Bliss Hub that was out there that we were able to um, spend some time with and spend time with like-minded families that are actually doing this. And so you get about halfway in this trip, Michelle um, had a friend who said, you need to look into this hub when you get to Thailand. And truthfully, she's like, we're going to go to a barbecue and see a bunch of families that are doing this. And there might be some kids there that are Ev's age. And I go, I don't know. I don't need anything, but if it's for Ev, that'd be great. I, oh my God. I didn't realize how much I needed
Yeah.
other interaction. And this kind of, and I put these in the same kind of bucket with education is because a lot of these families were educating their kids, obviously,
Mhm,
because some were on the road for 3 months, some had been on the road for 3 years, some were doing it full time.
mhm,
It was truly amazing to meet all these different families and all the different ways they were educating their kids.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that again, this is why, like, trusting people who have gone before you in some way. So, really, really fun note is that growing up, I had a cousin that grew up on a houseboat. They traveled the world, they sailed the world, and there was always this just romantic, beautiful vision. And so we kind of like to say, and Kent's family traveled a lot. His parents had a motorhome and went all over. And so we kind of say it was in our blood. Like we came by this honestly in a lot of ways, but I always knew that they had done it. But they had some, education like layered into that. Like my cousin was a teacher and they kind of had tools and knew how to do this. So you definitely though need to understand that others have done this before. And when we first started, not by design, but we just didn't know any different. So we were kind of just going on our own and we were doing our own thing and it was very fulfilling. It was very cool. But there did become this point, and it was about 3 months in where we were sort of looking for additional connection, we had been in countries where we maybe didn't speak the language and we would try our hardest, but it was hard to connect. And so we were all craving that in one way or another, even though our trio was doing great. Like there was something like, wouldn't it be nice? And you start to realize how you miss your community and what that does for you. So learning that there's these opportunities and plugging into these hubs that you can do this anywhere and in all different ways, from a very deep engagement to a pop-in, drop-in scenario. And you are then with like-minded people who are doing what you're doing also in many, many, many different ways. Like no two families are the same. They're all doing it in these different ways, but they come together
From all over the world.
And there's opportunities for the kids, for the parents to like have these engaging conversations. How are you educating? What did you do when you came to this time period that this thing was difficult, either emotionally, socially, educationally, and having these conversations that, to be perfectly honest, sometimes we don't have at home because we kind of like to act as if and everything's fine and everything's good.
It was
and
a deeper
just,
conversation. It was a deeper, almost a deeper conversation, I think, if you will.
yeah, you're just willing to
deeper
be more.
connection, a different
Yeah.
connection.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and as a result, as I mentioned, I did it for Ev, and it ended up being great for us. We met several families, obviously, but we ended up seeing one family in 4 different countries, including Thailand, and another family in 2 different countries. It's like, and we
And our
FaceTime.
dear friends
They're dear friends. We stay in touch with them,
forever.
and other families. As well that we stay in touch with. So yeah,
Also connects back to why you don't pre-plan a lot of things out,
Oh,
because
it's a
then we're
great
able to
point.
spend more time with these people and learn from them. Oh, they had just come from here. It's actually how we learned to navigate back. We were unclear about how we were going to make it back eventually at the end of our journey. And we met people who had done it in a number of ways and that had visited other places that weren't yet on our radar, or we had decided we weren't going to go. And then we're like, actually, we should. So it absolutely impacted where we decided to go, the timing of certain places, reconnecting with people, learning that they had a good experience, and ultimately navigating back home.
Well, and check this out. How cool is this? So we're in Thailand and we were going to go in our heads, we were going to go to Indonesia. And so we're looking at the map, kind of routing our journey. And we go, wait a second, Australia's right there.
We had sort of intentionally not
Right.
decided to do that based on timing for something else.
Correct.
And then, then we're like, we're all the way here ish. Why would you not go
So we went to Australia, jumped in a motorhome for 10 days. Then we went over
And we
to
went to
New
New
Zealand and we
Zealand.
drove down the coast in a rental car.
Not on our original
And
itinerary.
then we're like, wait a second, we haven't gone to the Great Barrier Reef. We should
We'll
probably
go
do
back
that.
to
Let's go back to
Australia.
Australia. I mean, so these are the fun stories and the fun experiences you get. Yes, they are taxing. Yes, they're exhausting. And to make those accommodations and find the flights and the hotels and whatever it may be, but they pay off.
Yeah.
They pay off twofold at the end. But two, as we're going and we're talking about this, I brought up the word minimalist earlier when we were talking about budgeting, but also, another big thing that people ask us is, how do you pack? We ask that question when we have a podcast, like, how did you pack? Well, let me tell you this. If you've seen any of our videos on our YouTube channel,
we don't know the answer. No, we got really good at it eventually.
We had a lot. We had a rollerboard each. We had a backpack each. We had a gigantic suitcase with everything else in it. As we went on this journey, we continued to send things back.
Yes, we did.
Constantly.
We did.
I mean, granted, we accumulated some things,
We
but we
did.
had to send them because we had Christmas too while we were gone.
Many
But we
holidays.
had to continue to send everything back.
Yeah, and I documented that really well in terms of like what we started with and why, and then at the times that we were able to like peel those off and come to a realization of what we didn't need. I mean, creature comfort still. I mean, still to think that that's all we traveled with initially, if you really think about you're coming out of your home with everything that you think you need all the time, every day. But even now, looking at that, we're like, that's so ridiculous. Like, why did we have that? But at the time, we felt like we needed some of our fitness things. Like we had like we had like a yoga ball and
Well,
we had
Michelle
our
had a
strength
pharmacy
trainings.
and she had a
And I
pharmacy.
did have a pharmacy because I wasn't sure what you would
No,
be
we
able
didn't
to get in
know.
other countries that we might want. And we stayed so healthy. Like it was so awesome. But I also felt like, oh, I need this because if something happens, but then we barely even needed any of it, which is beautiful. So I would still probably take some of that. We did realize the things that were not as necessary. And that was a really great experience to learn. And so by the end, we had a backpack and a small rollerboard each, and that was it.
Yeah. I think we even sent another rollerboard home. So I think
Why did
I
we
don't
got these?
know.
Yeah, we did. We
We
did.
sent another one
We
home.
did.
So we had
Two,
two between us, two rollerboards and
three
three
backpacks.
backpacks. Yeah.
Hmm.
And two, it's like I had the same four shirts. I did wash them occasionally. I had two pairs of joggers. I don't think I'll ever wear a pair of jeans again. A couple pairs of shorts and the same um Hoka boots that I
Mm.
hiked in, walked in, jogged in. So we became, and I think I still wear the same stuff now. I'm not used to
You're kind of tied
we
to
have
your
other
travel gear
clothes that we have, but I'm still tied to my travel gear,
a little bit. Yeah.
a little bit. But that being said, that kind of takes us into another thing that we wanted to do on this trip was the health and wellness
Yeah.
aspect of things and to be able to get outdoors and hike. And as we've kind of alluded to, a lot of these, or just about all the locations we went to, we walked everywhere.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
hiked.
Yeah.
Michelle found great hikes, waterfalls, streams, incredible hikes overlooking lakes in New Zealand. I mean, yes, that was one of
Cheese again.
the top things about this trip is that we're able to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think that was important to us to accomplish. I think we did that and then some.
Yeah, integrating that. And we had talked before we left about trying to like book in the day. Like if we could keep some sort of bookend, like we start the day the same, we end the day the same. And that didn't necessarily pan out because being structured like that or one or the other of us taking time in that way. But what it evolved into, which actually worked much better for our rhythm, is exactly that. That like where we were lent itself to the hiking and the walking, and then that became part of the wellness. I would still try to journal in the mornings as often as possible. And there were many locations where that was like
Yep.
absolutely just part of the routine every single day, more times than not. There were a few places where that wasn't as possible, but for the most part, I really was able to still keep that practice. And then doing yoga, even ourselves sometimes. And then we were able to experience a sound bath and find some other like wellness modalities, a breathing workshop and yoga on the beach, and just different things, other places that continue to help keep us grounded and in that routine as much as possible.
It was another way though to immerse ourselves in the culture. I mean, yoga in Thailand. How about a sound bath in Bali? Like, oh my gosh. Like we were at the root of a lot of where these meditations and practices were created, if not practiced, they practiced them continually. And it was that much more special and that much more meaningful. And we brought home sound bowls. We've brought home some of these practices with us to continue to do here in our daily lives. So yeah, it was one of those things that was important for us to do, and we did it, and it was terrific. I mean, the hikes and the walks. I don't know if the footage translates about how beautiful everything was, but that was a big part of what we did. And then too, the family time in the car playing games. Some of the Airbnbs had Monopoly. They had different games that we would play, puzzles, different things that we'd able to do as a family. So it was pretty cool. Again, those hubs were important to get some kid time for Ev, but I think because she's a little tired of us every now and then, I think. But
Probably.
no, we had some. It was some great family times. That was important, and that certainly was something that we were able to accomplish. But that all being said, people ask me about the trip. For me personally, very fortunate to grow up in the bubble of Southern California, if you will. And but then you grow up with some of these preconceived notions about what the rest of the world is. Um, how the people or the places are. How will you be received? What's the safety level, especially traveling with a child? And I will say this: I was leery. My head was on a swivel, constantly. People, friends, supportive friends, giving me lots of advice to be careful, but we were incredibly welcomed
Yeah.
by everybody, and you weren't judged, what your career was or how much money you made. It was how you showed up, how you treated your family, and how you treated them. And we met a wonderful woman in Greece who invited us into her home and made us dinner, and we got to pick olives from her tree, and they're waiting there for us to pick up as she canned these olives for us. One of the stories that will resonate with us, and one of the connections that will resonate us for a long, long time.
Yeah. I can't, there's nothing else to say about that. I think that I went in more curious and open and maybe clueless a little bit of anything to be weary, I think is the word you use, weary of. But obviously, you want to just be aware and researched and understand where you are and kind of where your place in that particular culture might be. But coming into it with, like we said before, just I'm a human and you're a human, and I'm just so curious. And what I found for sure, and I've talked about this before, is that sometimes in our regular lives, I get more nervous to ask a question that I feel like I should already know. Like someone that we're friends with that is from a different background, and I'm curious about something, and like, but I don't want to say it in a way that doesn't seem like I already know. I don't know what that's all about, like as if I should already know everything. But while traveling, it felt so natural to be able to say, can you tell me more or explain, or where is that and where are you from and what is your culture like? And it felt just so natural to be truly openly curious, not like trying to get information, but just be like, oh my goodness, it's so amazing. And people were so curious about us and asking us questions about what it was like and what our travel was like. So I just felt like the experience is what you're willing to be open to.
Yes, and I will say this, our experience was different because we were able to experience something, a term that I wasn't familiar with, called slow travel. We, being from the US, get our 2 weeks every year for the most part,
If that.
if we're lucky, and you can't really do it all in the same time.
Yeah.
Kind of uh, the way I describe it is you land at a destination, you have a couple days to decompress from whatever your career might be. Then you get to enjoy for 3 or 4 days, and while you're enjoying, you have a checklist of things that you need to get done, sites you need to see, places you need to go, you need to fit it all in, and then the final 3 days of your trip, you start already kind of worrying about going back. I mean, that's my experience, and it's a tough way to go on vacation. It's not really a vacation, it's you're really kind of fighting, responsibility back at home, and then you're trying to cram everything in. So slow travel um, is a fortunate way to travel, and not everybody can do it. It's a luxury. Time is a luxury, but these stories that we're talking about, meeting the people and immersing ourselves in the culture, like we got to see these people on a daily basis for like 5 weeks, and got to see them and talk to them and meet their families and experience the food and the dances and the events, and it opened my eyes to a whole new way of now you're able to experience the people, not just the places and the sights and the sounds. It's the
Yeah.
people, I think, that certainly were one of the top experiences for me on this trip. So
Yeah.
slow travel, now as we kind of, I guess we call it reentry is what they call it now. Is that
I don't,
the
did we come up with that? Did somebody else?
No,
I
I
don't
think
know.
somebody came, but
Reentry.
will we do this
Will
again?
we do it again?
Yeah. Yes, 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 we will. It's not going to. It might not be on the scale that we did it right now. But yeah, but that's when it comes back to this slow travel is we don't want to go. We want to go somewhere for maybe a month and be able to stay at one place and immerse ourselves and do that. And I think it pays dividends to us and our daughter for what she's able to learn.
Hmm.
And so those are things now that we come back. And by the way, if you decide to do this or have done this, you're different. You understand you find a different level of fulfillment, at least we did, speaking from our own personal experience, that you want to continue, that you want to make part of your daily life. And so that is a challenge. I mean, it is, and trying to understand what that looks like and create a environment for your family where you can continue to live and experience that love and that closeness that you did on the road and continue to bring that here and not let all the outside pressures and things creep in.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it is challenging, but it's a challenge that I was willing to take. And we've said this different ways many times. Like I knew it was going to be different and challenging coming home. I just didn't know what the challenges were going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right. We knew it was something would be different, but we didn't probably realize the depth to which we would be different. And that doesn't mean we, aren't still so happy to be back amongst our friends and family and community. It just means we look at things like so differently. And I think it's actually was the whole goal, right? It was to leave, to challenge the paradigm just a little bit of like, what else is possible? Could we live a different way? And then you learn and you gain all this information about yourself and about the world and about how you operate as a family. And then you come back to an environment that is, potentially somewhat the same, and then but you're coming in a different place in it. And so being able to just be very humble about what that looks like and feels like, and that we had no intention of just stepping back into our old life, whether that's career or anything else, but how you step back into it like gracefully and respectfully, and knowing that we were gone for an amount of time, and so lots of things have transpired for other people as well. So not acting like we're the only ones that had an experience since we've been gone. Like, so did everybody else. And so coming in with that same curiosity of like, what has happened for you? It isn't about us and us talking about our experience and telling everything. Are still, it's why the podcast is amazing and why I'm still talking to people, because we still want to be, learning from others, and
Yep.
and just with this continual exchange, um, that is trading the curiosities. So yeah, reentry is it's a unique experience, and just deciding how you want to be and who you really are and staying true to that. It's
Yeah.
part of the whole
It's
experience.
reinventing yourself, and I embrace that with open arms, but it's not easy. I mean, it's not, it is challenging, like I mentioned, and there, I knew that you don't just step back into a career. When you leave, you leave. And while my relationships are still there, you just don't, you can't just step back in. Or a lot of people can. And so, yeah, so it's been a growing experience, continue to grow. But as we mentioned, I teased something earlier in this podcast that what do we do now with this information that we have? Well, part of it is with Everly, obviously, and we were
Mhm.
able to do something that just said, this is one of the reasons why we did this. We got invited to give a presentation to her third grade class about the bodies of water. And it's like, how cool is that? We put together a video um, of all the bodies of water that we touched. I didn't realize.
It ended up being a lot, actually.
And we put together the video, be able to go there and give a presentation to the class, show the video. Really came up and was able to talk a little bit. She wasn't really into it to start, but certainly wanted to jump up there with us at the end. And then we find out later we put together a TV show. That was another part of our goal, is to establish the YouTube channel, but also to do a travel show with the experience that we did and do it, through our eyes as well as Everly's eyes. And we put together one on the South Island of New Zealand. And it turns out they played the whole show in front of the class as well. So it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we didn't know that one was going to happen. That
Yeah,
was
so
cool.
it's pretty cool that
It was really our dream. I mean, it's our
yeah.
dream that what we believe, that experiencing the world is the best education in so many ways, and that true, that you can come back and what you learn. So it really was our dream that what we did would enhance her education, would enhance what we can bring back to those around us. Like
Mhm.
that was the entire goal, and to see it come to life is really cool.
Well, and the family support has been tremendous. Not that we thought it wouldn't be. The friends and
Yeah.
family have embraced
Yeah.
us coming home.
Well, and what surprised us, I think, from the onset was like, when you start to share this, like, how's it going to be received and what are people going to think? And I've made other bold moves in my life that maybe weren't as supported. And so you're kind of like, oh, we're going against the grain. Like, what's that going to be like? And and people even ask us, oh, was it like to tell your family, to tell your friends? And they're waiting for you to say, oh yeah, people didn't like that. And you're like, no, like everyone. There wasn't anyone who questioned or was like, what does that even mean? What are you going to do? How will you come back? Like everyone was, how can we support you? How can we all help make that happen? Like from our family to our friends. I think people would be surprised how incredibly supportive people are.
It's pretty cool to look back on it. Like people dream of what we did, and we did it. It's crazy that we did it. I mean, I think we said at the very beginning of this whole thing, it's just bizarre that this has already happened and we actually did it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's crazy cool, and it's neat that we have it documented and we continue to live it every day, based on just the Frenchitivity brand that we've established and putting content out there and really inspiring other people to do what we did.
absolutely. That is now the goal.
Yes.
So
I'll
would you do it again?
I do it tomorrow.
Okay. There we go.
Do it tomorrow.
Working on it.
So all of our, we've been kind of telling you throughout the course of this podcast, everything that we have been doing is living on our YouTube channel, the Frenchitivity YouTube channel. So we'd love for you to check it out, and please subscribe. And of course, the Frenchitivity Podcast lives on our YouTube channel as well, but you can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yes, and we appreciate if you do, and if you enjoy what you're hearing, please be sure to like it and subscribe so you'll know when new episodes drop. And if you would be so kind as to leave us any kind of comments or review, it means the world to us, so we can keep doing and sharing the good messages that we have been so blessed to receive.
Yes, and thank you for all your support out there. We are so thankful for that, and we feel it. We really do. We feel the love, and we just want to be able to reciprocate that and give back as much as we can. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Frenchitivity Podcast. We'll see you next time.